Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new week out there so far. Happy Labor Day to everyone. I hope you got the day off, but unfortunately, I imagine there's a lot of people that do not have the day off. And my hats are certainly off to you. I hope you have a fantastic day regardless. Trust me, I've been there and done that. I worked two jobs from the age of 19 to 28 years old. Not because I wanted extra money, but because I had to provide for my family. And there was many Labor Days, many Memorial Days, 4th of July's, Christmas Eves, all those things that I had to work. So certainly thinking of you guys a little bit extra this morning. But here to try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Labor Day. We're going to start this off by giving you updated info on the tropics, though. We'll talk about what's going on out there right now, the latest from the National Hurricane Center, all the overnight to this morning's model guidance. There's a few areas of interest we need to talk about, so we'll continue to lead these videos off with updated info on the tropics until, maybe there's just nothing to talk about. And we could get to that point with this weird hurricane season that continues to chug on along. So we'll do that. Then, of course, we got you covered with weather across the entire lower 48. And then we'll spend some time on a cool down that's on the way for the central to eastern U.S. In fact, a good chunk of the country already cool to maybe a little chilly this morning, but there's going to be a reinforcing shot that comes later this week into this weekend that could really bring that true fall-like air mass. So we'll discuss all that. Timestamps will be up throughout the entire video. There's a cat behind me on the edge of my bed. You might see some movement right. Oh, nope, wrong finger. Right there. That is Rocket chilling, kind of sleeping at the edge of my bed. He wanted to hang out with me this morning, so he's always the most behaved cat in here for the most part. Sometimes he can get a little crazy too. So if you see the movement, it's just a cat. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I'll get to all the comments as soon as I finish this video. I plan on catching up with all the comments and getting caught up with all the prayer requests and all things like that. And speaking of prayer requests, if you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. It's very important. I'll pray over it, and many others will pray over it also. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So I've struggled starting this video mightily, so hopefully there's no hiccups, no twisting of words, but I'm sure there will be anyways. But let's circle all the pieces out here. So the main area of interest we've been talking about over the last several days that has showed some concerning model runs with it is this first circled area right here. Now we still have this area out here also that's actually increased in a chance to develop. And I tell you, this looks pretty robust out here in the eastern Atlantic. This has a shot to develop too. And then we're still watching this area also. So these three areas have a chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days. And when I say develop, I mean develop into a depression or a named storm, or just a tropical cyclone, which tells us that this has a defined low-level circulation. So this is all the pieces out here. We're going to discuss all of them, but of course we're going to spend the most time on this one and see if it's still showing some, worrisome model runs, which I'm going to tell you right off the dot, it's really not for most people, but there's still some wacky model runs out there on this area. So that's all the pieces out here in the Atlantic. This is the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We do have a new and improved update, so that's good. I always like when I can get the latest information for you guys. But as you can see here, this new wave out here in the eastern tropical Atlantic now has a 40% chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days. But if you notice, the arrow kind of starts to point a little bit further north. So there is a lot of model guidance that shows even if this wave does develop, it's going to try to turn north. Now, we go to this wave, which is the main area we've been talking about, that, if you've been watching updates, whether it's me or anybody else, you know that this has went up from a 40 to a 50% chance, and it'll go back down to a 40, then it'll go back up to a 50% chance. This morning, we're at a 40% chance for this wave that's located right where this orange X is to develop somewhere in this orange area within the next 7 days. So it's not going to develop, I would say, in the next couple days. If it's going to develop into a depression or a named storm, next name is Francine, it's going to do it sometime later this week into this weekend, maybe early next week. And it could develop in the Bay of Campeche. It could develop in the Western Caribbean. We just got to watch. And then, of course, we still got this area tucked in to the northwest Gulf of Mexico. I think this will be hanging with us for a while as you just continue to just have this energy sort of trapped here in the northwest Gulf of Mexico with this cold front that's sort of stalled out to the north. So we'll have to continue to watch this, but the chances of development have actually dropped from a 20 to a 10% chance here in this area. So all the latest model guidance that we have, let's go over the Euro first. So kind of keep your eyes, and it's going to be hard because it barely shows up anymore. But this is our wave right here. Kind of keep your eyes right here. And we're going to keep this going. We're going to go into Tuesday. We're going to go into Wednesday. Nothing. Now you can see a big blob of green here. That is our tropical wave. It's still not a whole lot of anything, right? And then we go into Thursday. Still a big blob of green down there in the central to western Caribbean. Friday morning, not a whole lot of anything showing up. Saturday, where is it? I mean, I don't know. Your guess is mine. I mean, it's probably somewhere into here. All right, but in general, you look at this run of the Euro and nothing develops. That's what you would take from it. Check out this big cold front, and you can see where it is. And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because we have an entire segment of this video discussing this cold front. But if anything does develop down here, I guess is what I'm trying to say, it could be influenced by this cold front. You see this dramatic cutoff between green and then absolutely nothing up here. That is a digging cold front, digging pretty far south for this time of the year. So pretty wild stuff. But all in all, guys, the Euro does not develop anything from this main area of interest. Okay, what about the GFS? GFS is kind of weird. It always is. We call it the drunk model sometimes because it just does some crazy stuff. But same thing, kind of keep your eyes down here. Here's our wave and this blob of green, even some pockets of yellow, just indicating some deep tropical moisture. This will continue into Friday, still doesn't do anything. And then as we're getting into Saturday morning, there's the L popping off. So it begins to develop in the Western Caribbean about 5 days from now. And then develops all the way into a tropical storm before making landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula or Belize about 6 days from now. So that's something we need to watch. That's like the second or third model run on the road that has showed it developing at the last second in the Western Caribbean, then making landfall into these areas. And then sort of the leftover energy from it makes it over the Yucatan Peninsula, slips into the Bay of Campeche, and we get into next Wednesday morning, September the 11th, the 12th, the 13th. This thing just sort of dances around. We get this weird little area that develops here in the northeast Gulf of Mexico. And it makes landfall as a major hurricane into the Mexico coastline almost 2 weeks from now. The run before this, wanted it to kind of cruise north into the Gulf of Mexico and make landfall into Louisiana. So some wild stuff. I think we'll be watching this energy for quite some time. It's just, what is it going to do? So we're going to continue to watch it. Now, I will say, we kind of moved a little bit further east. What about this area of interest way out here in the eastern Atlantic? Now, the GFS does show this sort of developing slowly. It shows some weird stuff out here. It shows multiple tropical waves really close to each other, sort of dancing around one another, kind of influencing, I would say, the cyclonic flow around one another. There's an F word for this, not the bad F word, but it's just, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. But it's basically when these, and I'm sure somebody will comment it in the comments. I know the word, I'm not going to try to pronounce it because you guys know I struggle with punctuation. So, but it's when these tropical systems sort of influence one another's sort of cyclonic flow, and they kind of actually twirl around with one another. And that's exactly what happens here. Check out how this northern one sort of grabs the other one and sort of yanks it into its, cyclonic flow, if you will. But this eventually does develop. But, once again, you got a lot of tropical systems way out here in the Atlantic. Like you got this one over here, this one here, this one here, but they're not really bothering anybody. They're way out here in the Atlantic, not bothering a soul, but, the fishes, whales, and sharks on the surface of the ocean. So that's good news. So I don't really have any concerning news really for the tropics. You look at the European ensemble here, and it shows a couple signals, one right here that sort of just doesn't know what it wants to do. You got a few members that, turn north, a few members that sort of just stall in one area. And here's our, signal that we've been watching for several days now. And most of these members, if they form at all, do not develop until some of them don't really develop until it gets into the Bay of Campeche, if they develop at all. So I'm just going to go 1 week out. I mean, there's no point in going 10 days out because we've just had so much flip-flopping of the models. But all in all, guys, I mean, that's an update on the tropics. There's nothing concerning that I'm seeing at all. I know that a couple videos ago I put concerning look on the models, but that's no longer the case. It was looking concerning to me, and it could flip back. So that's why you continue to get more updated information. But, you know, that's why I've kind of backed off on the evening videos. I don't want to talk this to death if there's just really not anything to really worry about, you know. So wife got me some Starbucks this morning, so if you see me sip on that, I just don't want that Starbucks to go to waste, you know. But as far as what's happening out there across the country, for whatever reason, my radar site here, WeatherTap, it shows like it's very, the resolution is not all the way there. I'm not sure what's going on with it this morning. It's just having a hard time. But we got a lot of rain down here in Texas. Much needed rain falling. Hopefully, if you really need to rain down in Texas, you get it today. It's definitely gonna ruin your Labor Day outdoor plans. But I think most of you will take a day of rain because you need it for sure. And one reason why I have sort of the front pulled up here is because it really does an awesome job of showing the separation between a lot of rain, shower, and storm activity and absolutely nothing up here. Okay, you see kind of on the northern side, this front, which is indicated in the blue here, there's not a whole lot of anything going on. If you look at the temperatures too, so I'll stop moving my cursor over the map because it keeps pulling up little icons there. But you see the temperatures in like the 60s and 70s south of that front. So still warm, moist air, right? But if you go north of that front, I mean, the 60s, the 50s, I mean, you get all the way up into the upper Midwest. And I mean, you're in the 40s, some chilly conditions up there. So pleasant fall-like air to kickstart your Labor Day morning. North of the boundary, you're still dealing with just the late summer, moist and humid air south of the boundary with maybe some rain and shower and maybe even some storm activity. So this is what's going on right now. Now let's talk about watches, warnings, and advisories. It's getting pretty dry out west. In this hot pink color, that's red flag warnings. I mean, still in the high plains too, you got red flag warnings. Excessive heat watches are up in the burgundy color. Yeah, excessive heat watches. So you got some heat on the way, no doubt, out west as Big Trough's going to dive down to the east. This will cause a ridge to flex in the west. So, it'll be basically two different patterns depending on where you live. In the western U.S., hot. Eastern U.S., cooler. We got a lot of fog right along that boundary. It makes sense. Right along that frontal boundary, you got a lot of fog. And that is because you're having the clashing of two different air masses, which normally creates a lot of fog. Flood watches are up in Texas. A lot of rain's on the way over the next 48 hours. So you continue to move forward here. The excessive rainfall outlook, just a marginal risk in areas of the Carolinas and Georgia, but there is a slight risk for the coastal regions of Texas and then central Texas. Slight risk means there's at least a 15% chance of rainfall exceeding a flash flood guidance within 25 miles in a given point. So like I said, much needed rain is going to fall in Texas today. Just watch out for flooding. The Storm Prediction Center, there's a marginal risk across some areas of the west and the Rockies, especially in these valley areas, Elko up to Boise, Pendleton. So areas of Idaho, Oregon, and then northern Nevada and extreme northwestern Utah, including this level 1 out of 5 risk. Everybody else in the light green, just a general risk of thunderstorms, just some gusty winds and some hail out here as possible with some of these severe weather. Some of these severe storms out west. So the southeast today, we're going to kind of zip through this pretty quick because all in all, there's nothing to really talk about weather-wise today. I'm going to zoom in on Texas for sure because your guys are going to get a lot of rain today. But all in all, I mean, there's no significant weather happening today. But this morning across the southeast, a lot of moisture off the coastline. We are going to have the opportunity for scattered showers and storms across the Carolinas, even Georgia, and certainly in Florida today as you're well south of that boundary. A lot of moist, unstable air will get these storms going across the peninsula of Florida today. But we are going to get some storms in the Carolinas. They'll kind of drift through, and then some dry, stable air will kind of limit a lot of storm activity as we are getting later in the time period. But we get into tomorrow morning, and just some showers across central Georgia. Western North Carolina, not a big deal at all. But definitely if you're in the Carolinas, the Georgia to Florida, expect some storms today. So we have to get through that. Just plan accordingly if you have any outdoor activities. The Northeast today, we get into this afternoon. A little bit of shower activity is possible up in the northern Maine, western Maine, northern Vermont, New Hampshire. Very possible, but we get into the evening, a nice evening. We get into the overnight period. We take it all the way to tomorrow morning. And guys, weather-wise, a fantastic day across the Northeast. So enjoy your weather and enjoy your Labor Day. Down here in the south central U.S., the big storyline is really Texas. I mean, even southeast sections of New Mexico is going to get a good bit of rain, but you get to about midday. Look at all that shower and storm activity across Texas. Much needed rain. We'll start to get a flow into the Texas coastline. So well south of Houston, more so down to the Matagorda Bay, Corpus Christi. A lot of tropical moisture will surge into the coastline, and just this moisture will continue to dance around right here south of this cold front. And it'll rain all day in certain areas. I mean, all day. And then we'll do it again tomorrow. In fact, just getting a little bit closer look at this here. Look at all this rain. We get into this afternoon, just a washout for places like Abilene down to San Antonio, San Angelo especially. Just on and off rain all day. Some showers will try to make its way into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then, folks, we'll do it again tomorrow. Maybe not quite as widespread, but certainly beneficial rain. Rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. A few inches of rain is possible along the Texas coastline. But this blob right here into central to west central Texas, a good 1 to as much as 2.5 inches of rain is possible. Sharp cutoff to the north, but, certainly enjoy your rain. I think you guys really need it. In Texas, you're going to get a good bit of it today. And it's nice, steady, light to moderate rain, too. There's going to be pockets of heavy rain, but for the most part, you're not going to get 3 inches of rain in 1 hour or something. But temperatures across the upper Midwest this morning, definitely feeling like fall. I mean, you should this time of the year. When you get into September up here, I mean, you're pretty much done for the most part with summer. But, you're getting those low 40s, some upper 30s are up here. Some cooler temperatures all the way down into areas of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. So it's pretty nice. I mean, just 40s, 50s out here. Maybe some areas in these urban heat islands like Chicago, maybe only into the 60s. A little bit of warm air off the Great Lakes. But in general, it's pretty nice out here. So hope you guys are enjoying your fall-like morning. Weather-wise, folks, there ain't a whole lot of anything to discuss. I mean, it's just going to be a phenomenal day up here. Beautiful day. Enjoy your weather. It's a nice Labor Day as far as weather falling from the sky. The western U.S., we're going to get some pop-up showers and storms. You see these areas. In fact, we're going to get a little bit closer to this. Look at the Rockies. Pop-up showers and storms in that area that does have that marginal risk. You see these storms kind of popping up in Idaho right here, and then areas of northern Utah, even down in Nevada. These storms can pack some gusty winds with it, some small hail. They'll kind of just fly through as we have this kind of northerly to south. I'm sorry, not northerly, but it's kind of south westernly flow over this area of the Rockies. And especially as we get into, I would say late evening, could get a lot of widespread storm activity across the state of Idaho, eventually getting into western Montana. So don't let this catch you by surprise up here. These storms in this area of the Rockies could certainly pack a punch. So temperatures, there's that nice 70-degree type weather day across the upper Midwest. I mean, beautiful weather. Interior sections of the Northeast will be downright chilly. It'll feel like fall, especially up into the Adirondacks. The higher elevations of Vermont, New Hampshire, and western Maine, I mean, you might be trapped in the 50s today. You get to the big cities on the I-95 corridor, 60s, the 70s, the Mid-Atlantic, pretty nice weather today, 70s, low 80s. It'll be a nice day to pull out your fall decor, decorations. I know me and my family are doing it today regardless of the temperature. But, if some people wait a little bit later in September to do it. We typically do it the very first weekend of September. We start pulling out all our fall decorations. So we're looking forward to doing that with the family today. Deep south will be the hottest, some of the hottest in the country here. 90s, high humidity. So cold front has just not made it to your area yet. And then temperatures out west, I mean, it's pretty warm everywhere except in the immediate coastal Pacific Northwest areas. It's chilly. but the heat is beginning to flex here in the southwest, and we got this pocket of really hot air up here in the high plains of the Dakotas, Montana, and Wyoming, where some areas could get almost to 100 degrees a day. Check out this boundary right here that's separating like nice fall air with just hot summer air. I mean, look how quickly it goes from the 90s to the 70s. So definitely a cold front boundary. And you can see that boundary if you look right, where is it? If you look right here, see the boundary kind of right into place. This boundary will kind of pivot this way as a ridge kind of builds up through here. But that's it with that. Let's talk about this cool down, folks. So this is a 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This was issued yesterday. So you see where this dark blue is? That is where their confidence is quite high. I mean, well over 60 to 70% that this area in blue will have below average temperatures between the 7th and the 11th of September. But I want to note, you know, today's September 2nd, right? Even between now and the 7th, a lot of areas in this area you see in blue will be below average too. Not everybody, but a lot of the areas. So this is extended a little bit outward to the 6 to 10 day of time frame, if that makes sense. So below average temperatures dominating this entire area in this time frame between the 7th through 11th. Above average temperatures out west. We don't like to see that because it's already getting dry. It's going to get even drier out here. Now Florida's sticking out like a sore thumb. Above average temperatures expected because, you know, cold fronts just do not clear Florida this time of the year, and we don't expect this to be really any different. But you extend this past this time frame of this I cannot talk this morning. At this point, we're all the way out to mid-September, the 15th of September. Below average temperatures look to stick around to the 9th through the 15th of September, the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This is looking great, guys. If you're a fall weather fan, I mean, what else can you ask for to kickstart September? So low hurricane activity and cool downs for the eastern U.S., which obviously is, you know, an area of the country you have to worry about the most when it comes to tropical activity. I mean, you're living the dream in the eastern U.S. for sure. Now, what's driving this? And I'm not gonna stick on this very long because I know this is the part that will confuse people. Blue area, lower pressure, right? A trough of low pressure brings a cold front, and then the red kind of orange area, salmon color, whatever you want to call it. This is a ridge of high pressure. Now, this is at 500 millibars. It doesn't always tell us what's going on at the surface, and I'll show you exactly what that means here in a second. For example, this trough is actually already digging through the northeast right now. Okay, this is sweeping through, but this will actually bring below average temperatures in the southeast for, you know, a few days this week. And you were thinking, well, how are we getting below average temperatures with this huge area of like warmer looking colors over our area? Well, it's because this trough brings a cold front with it. And basically this trough kind of introduces some northeasterly flow right in here. This will bring, where I drew this arrow, some cold air will actually usher in from the northeast and kind of get trapped east of the Alps. So a little bit of a cold air damming situation. So this will keep us cooler for certain areas of the southeast and the mid-Atlantic, even with this trough sort of progressing off to the east. But one thing that I'm watching as this pulls out, we could get a period of above average temperatures for like a couple days across the eastern U.S. As a ridge kind of swings through, but a very fast moving pattern. And you see this white area showing up, big trough digs down, amplifies, and by the time we get into the end of this work week, the next several days, a big trough dives in and gets centered right over the Great Lakes region. And I mean, this thing digs down deep, guys. I mean, it gets all the way down into the south. Cold front will be associated with it, and it'll kind of come down with this trough as we get a dip in the jet stream. This will introduce very nice and comfortable air, and the trough kind of hangs around. That means a cold front will kind of hang around, and then eventually it will erode. But even as we're getting like 10, 11 days from now, you see this huge white area here? That is still troughing in place. Okay, that still tells me that we're still getting some cooler temperatures, definitely not above average temperatures, that's for sure. So this pattern looks to really have some longevity to it and some staying power with it. Now we look at temperatures compared to average, and we'll start this off for tomorrow. Look at these below average temperatures as we get what we call a backdoor cold front throughout the Virginia area, Carolinas, all the way down to Georgia. This will cool us down tomorrow. But, we continue to make our way, and I'm going to show more of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast too, so I don't want you guys yelling at me saying, hey, you're missing me. I got you covered. But, we get into Wednesday. As you can tell, the temperature's starting to moderate up the Mississippi Valley into the Mid-South. And, you start to get back to above average temperatures across the Great Lakes region. You're thinking about, where's this cool down you're talking about? But look, check it out. You're getting below average temperatures kind of east of the Appalachian Mountains. A little bit of cool air trying to get down and trapped east of the Apps. A lot of this below average temperatures down here in the deep south, this is really driven off cloud cover. Not really more so that crisp fall-like cold air, just lower daytime temperatures because you got a lot of cloud cover. But watch what happens here. We start to get into Thursday, still below average temperatures hanging around for the deep south just because of cloud cover and rain. But then here comes that true cooler air mass dropping down. We're getting into Saturday morning, waking up to anywhere from 8 to maybe 12 degrees below average for your Saturday morning. Should be a phenomenal second weekend of college football up here. If you're that cool fall weather fan mixed with college football, who doesn't like something like that, right? But man, look at this. It might be a chilly day Saturday across the Midwest, the Great Lakes region. Temperatures are anywhere from 10 to as much as 20 degrees below average as far as high temperatures this coming Saturday. And look at this. This air mass continues, and we're getting into Sunday morning. Look. Next Sunday morning, as far as the European ensemble is showing, temperatures anywhere from 10, 12, 13, maybe as much as 15 degrees below average for next Sunday morning, September the 8th. And this air mass will continue to kind of ooze and drop southeast and then eastward. And then by the time we're getting into next Monday morning, we start to cool down across the eastern U.S. Now, I will say, it looks like this air mass looks the chilliest west of the Apps. But we're still going to get some nice cool air, some very cool mornings pretty far south too. But man, this is looking nice, guys. It really is. And to look at let's look at the Northeast here as far as what this cool down looks like. This is starting this morning. We're getting into tomorrow. You'll hang around to more so. I would just say this averages out to about average temperatures, right? But it's really as we start to get into this weekend, here comes this cool down this weekend. Will this completely miss sort of this portion of the country, Maine and stuff like that? As this trough sort of digs down aggressively to your west, you guys might not see those really cool, chilly temperatures as much as the areas like I would say to your southwest. But you guys could still cool down. I mean, you're sticking way up to the north. You guys are going to be pretty cool anyways. But I would say the below average temperatures for this time of the year will be concentrated more to your southwest down here. So as far as the actual low time temperatures, I'll just show you guys this. So chilly this morning. We get into tomorrow. The air mass begins to modify. You start to get some 50s and some 60s as far north as like the Midwest again. And then look, by the time we're into Thursday, I mean, it's not uncomfortable, but you certainly don't have that chilly air mass ahead anymore. But then we start to get into Friday. Here it comes, dropping down again. Everybody down here is back into like the 60s for lows. And then we get into Saturday morning. Look at these chilly temperatures, widespread 40s, even some upper 30s. And then look at next Sunday morning, this air mass. Look at these 50s all the way down to central Alabama, central Mississippi. This looks like a very nice air mass for these areas. And then we get into next Monday and we start to get a little bit chillier across the the Mid-Atlantic, the Southeast, and yeah. Looks like fall is on the way, guys. So that's all I got. Sorry about the messiness of the video. Had to start over multiple times, and I think I've mentioned this before. Each time I have to start over, it gets sloppier and sloppier when I do get going. So I honestly thought about just not even making a video this morning, but it's such a routine for me to do it. It's hard for me to not do it if I'm available to do it. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful Labor Day, and I'll talk to you again soon.